Ready?
All right. Zach, would you like to do an intro? Surprise intro. You thought I was going to do it, didn't you?
Yeah. I'm Zach Jackson. I'm a physical therapist and co-owner with TriStar Strength and Rehab.
Yep.
This is Josh Davis, PT co-owner, and we're here with Josh, owner of Foundation Fitness. How are you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having us out today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. All
It's
right.
been like 2 years.
It has, dude, for real. No, it's awesome.
Has it been that long?
Yeah. So I got
Yeah.
my butt kicked that day doing front squats. Dude,
Yeah.
That was a
that
rough
was a
one to
solid
go.
workout. And that's what we were talking with Abby before, the workout that we did. And I was just telling her, like, how the atmosphere, I love the competition because, like, as former athlete,
Right.
like, dude, I was going to kick his butt for sure.
Right.
Now, whether I did.
So the funny thing about that is 2 years ago, whenever y'all came, we didn't have, because I looked back whenever I knew y'all were coming on, I looked back to see through our text messages.
Yeah.
Whenever you all came, you all came like as we were changing to build power grind, which is what we do now.
That's what Abby was asking. Yeah.
So it's interesting because I think y'all came, the text messages that I had with you were like around September 2021.
Yeah.
And during that time, I was so unhappy with what we were doing.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a point where like I was coming to Abby saying like, I hate our product.
Oh no.
Like I hate it. So that was a time, that was like we were in like a half cooked stage of what we ended up launching in 2022 January.
Yeah.
So it's really, I'm glad that y'all came back and got to see
like
the old a grind day. Yeah. And then you'll have to come back to like a power day and
for sure.
field day as well.
Yeah. We'll definitely be back. That's what we were talking to some of the guys after. Like, dude, we'll be back for sure.
Yeah.
We did.
Awesome.
And that's what we were talking about after the workout, like doing the cool down. Like, every movement has intent.
Yes.
Behind it. So kind of, you care to like run through what that program looks like now, like how y'all build it and go about it.
Yes. So we have 3 days build power grind. So build days, absolute strength, barbell strength. It's 90% intensity.
Okay.
Power day is explosive athletic strength. That's 80% intensity. On a day like that, you'll see anything from agility movements. We have a thing called a quad back there in the back. Monday is actually a power day, so that's whenever we do our rotational things.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll use a landmine, stagger stance. We kind of try to make it look like a sports practice.
That's awesome.
And then grind days, the body weight strength, and that's what y'all did today.
Yeah.
So we have those 3 days. And we lay out the programming calendar a year in advance, and then we program all the workouts 3 months in advance for each phase.
I dig it.
And that kind of allows us to create a lot of balance, having like, every build day is followed by a grind day. So whenever we do a barbell strength day, the next day is always a body weight strength day, 70%.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of what that looks like.
Okay. Yeah. And as far as those percentages, like I'm assuming like whenever somebody new comes in, you just kind of establish like, here's what we're doing. Here's your percentages, like RPEs, whatever. Okay.
Cool. So with that, it is, whenever you have someone new, it is interesting. And you probably see this too, that if they're completely new, they don't know what 100% is. They don't know what 90% is.
Yeah.
Like they could be going 30% and think they're going 100. They could be going 100 and think that they're going 60. You just have no clue. And you get better at percentages and RPE as your training age increases. But yeah, just kind of explaining to them what that is. And a lot of times the workouts, if done correctly, then if you're going 90% on a day that's supposed to be 70%, you're going to be stopping and starting a lot. And that's not the goal. So we'll kind of explain to them, hey, 70% means you could do this whole effort, this whole 10-minute effort, 9-minute effort without stopping, just continuous pace. And then whenever we have 90%, it is something where we have to get around and make sure they're getting to that 90% safely.
Yeah. I like that.
Regarding your program, you said you try to get it done about 3 months in advance. What, when you guys sit down and do it, how long does that really take you to go through that process? That seems, I was just talking to Josh before we got on. I was like, man, that seems like a pretty time consuming task, especially with running a business and the gym and making sure everything's flowing efficiently. So tell us a little bit more about that.
It takes a long time. So we haven't started programming the next phase yet. We will. The programming team is me, Rachel, Abby, and Lacey. And basically we have a system inside a spreadsheet that we've created. I'll basically pick like a block, like a build day block. So the first build day of every week, I'll go through and I'll program that out, and you have a progression on that first build day. So right now we're on a back squat, front squat progression. So I'll write that whole progression out, and then Abby will come in and she'll do all of the grind day that follows my back squat, and she'll write the whole progression. So we're progressing. Like today, like we're actually progressing those bird dogs into like longer holds. So we did a 2-second hold today. Next week they'll do a 3-second, 4-second, and then we may flip and then go into like bird dog. So we're progressing literally like everything. We'll progress sit-ups. We'll progress literally every movement can be progressed and regressed. You all know that.
For sure.
So we actually put that into the workout.
Well, and that's what I think is awesome, and that's what we're talking about. Intent is that you can go to some classes that they're just hard for the sake of being hard,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next week you may and I get that kind of the CrossFit model is
Mm-hmm.
like ready for anything,
Right.
like, and it's just you come to class, you have no idea what you're doing.
100%.
I think there's a lot of value, and it's kind of the way that we operate is like getting good at the foundational movements and the basics, and then getting good and building. So like you're saying, progressing, whether that looks like, increasing, instability, like we were doing with the ISO holds today, or then you can turn that into like single leg RDL. You can add weight to it. Then we start adding like head turns. I mean, there's so many like variables that you can play with that it doesn't have to be just the, I guess, progressive overload that we typically see, or just the random workouts. That's what kills me.
And it is common. And, I actually got a message today asking me about something fitness related, and I just responded, and I was like, as with everything fitness related, like different things for different people.
It depends.
It depends. That's the answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think there's a place for most things, not a place for everything, but there's a place for most things. And I think that a lot of it is kind of on your, like the gym's programming team. If you're doing group fitness, to it's your responsibility to one, how do you make a bird dog fun? And if you think it's not fun and you're not doing them, then you're doing a disservice. A lot of these exercises that we do in here, people might look at them and say these are PT exercises. It's almost like when people talk about like good food and bad food, it's like there's no good food or bad food. There's no like there's no like PT exercise or regular exercise. All exercises can be exercises, like, 100%. And you should be doing all of them. And that's where it goes into like you all, like people coming and working with you as like prehab. And it's like, well, like you're saying that I'm going to get injured. Well, no, like we're just trying to help you keep from being injured, even if you don't have any
proactive,
injury, like you're proactive. Yeah. 100%. It's a new concept, and it's tough to explain, but yeah, I mean, these movements like this they're just so necessary, especially as you age. And I'm 31 now, so I understand things. I look at things a little bit different than I used to whenever I was 26, 27.
For sure. Well, and I think like in the PT realm, the corrective exercise is like a trigger phrase that we've heard. And how about just exercise correctly?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what a novel idea. Right. Like, let's just do a movement correct.
Like back squat is a PT exercise.
100%.
Yeah. And you know what I mean?
No, for real. And that's what our whole model is based off of. That's why we've got a squat rack in our office.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I say that on every podcast because I'm super proud of it.
Yeah. Awesome.
But you know what I mean? Like that's the thing is like when you come to see us, it's going to look like what a class would look like to an extent. Like as far as the movements go, like we're going to be loading you heavy because that's whenever all the imbalances are going to show.
Yes.
So like that's kind of how we differ. But yeah, I mean, I think as far as y'all's classes, like I don't think it's corrective exercise. I think y'all are doing things right.
Right.
You know
right.
what I mean?
And that's the goal. That's the goal.
I dig it. Good deal. So as far as those phases go, like do y'all start normally with like hypertrophy based stuff, then strength, or how do you kind of progress?
So we have 4 phases.
Okay.
And phase 1 and 3 are followed by what we call base week. And that's like a week for us to establish a baseline here at Foundation. So we do everything from, we have like a thing that's called a F quad. So it's like a longer cardio thing. We do a 40-yard sprint. We do like a 5-rep deadlift. We never do 1-rep deadlift.
Yeah.
We don't believe it's necessary unless that's your sport. powerlifting.
Powerlifting. Yep.
And then we have like a back squat thing. I think that might be 3 rep bench press. We do broad jump, high jump, and a couple other things. And so all of our phases are kind of based around getting them into those base week movements, specifically in phase 1 and phase 2, or phase 1 and phase 3, because they end with base week. And then during these we're in phase 2 right now, we add in these different progressions that we wouldn't use in base week. And that just kind of allows us to continue progressing them through. Our base week has things like we have those strength components that everyone knows, but part of our base week is also like a dead hang, a max dead hang, and a max farmer hold, because
Grip strength.
it's grip strength, because there's, you all know, there's a lot of studies around like grip strength and mortality rates,
Vital sign, basically, is what it is now.
The like where you're at in life, like,
Yeah.
and then they say, I've read this somewhere, I don't know how true it is, but they say that once you reach, like, I forget the number, like past 70, like a huge causes and deaths is like falls.
Oh, yeah.
Because they can't like
100%.
grab onto something to keep them up.
Well, and it's like the loss of, I actually did my like dissertation in PT school on that very thing, is reducing fall risk in the elderly population by doing power training. So we're at nursing homes, or assisted living. I'm in a nursing home. And if I always do this, just as like almost like internal experiment, I'm like, when's the last time you jumped? Everybody like either looks at me like I'm crazy or they get mad. And I'm like, no, I'm just saying, like, at least the intent is there. So, like, hearing about you doing the jumping and the power stuff, I think that is huge.
Yes.
And that's something that we've started with our force plates and stuff, is getting baseline measurements. And it doesn't have to look like they're training for the combine. That's not what we're saying.
No.
But developing those base movements, foundational movements, because, I mean, dude, I started doing some, like, drop jumps and, like, looking at RSI, like, reactive strength index. My Achilles and everything, and I'm not even that old. Like, I'm 30, and I'm like, God, I'm like an old man. You know what I mean? But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I like hearing that you all are doing it this way and so intentful. I think that's awesome.
Yes.
Well, there's intent behind it, and then I really like how you add in so many different movements. I really like the athletic component of it. I think that keeps it fun, because I know when I was in PT school, I was doing a legit powerlifting block.
He's doing West Side, right?
Yeah, it's more West Side. Well, it was a little West Side. It was mainly just straight periodization training, and it was just so boring. And once I started doing, we added in more West Side components, but just more athletic based movements. It keeps it fun. It keeps it fresh. And then also, as people age, I think it's super important, and we've preached on this in the past, moving in these different planes. I mean, we did it today, moving in the frontal, the transverse plane, not just sagittal. So you keep people prepared for anything that life might throw at them. I think that's huge.
Yeah. It's really important. It is. And that's what we looked at. Actually, whenever we first started designing the Build Power Grind, I have had to work with a PT myself. Abby has, and Rachel has. And whenever we were designing this out with Rachel, we took a large amount of our experience working with PTs. And that's whenever we started building out like a grind day that looks like today.
Yeah.
And it's just important. I mean, because that's whenever we were like, these are exercises, and we do some of these in our warm up, and then it was like, this is really interesting. Like, what if we add in these bird dogs? We do them in warm ups. What if we put it into like a conditioning part? Yeah. And that's what today our move is, conditioning. And you had like hamstring slides, and like our move isn't always, the intention's not to like be laying on the floor at the end of the workout.
Exactly.
Most of the time that's not the case. 99% of the time that's not the case here. Yeah. We want you to leave feeling like you could do more most days.
Yeah, and that's 100% what I felt like walking out to the car.
Yes. Yeah. Like you feel good.
Well, and talking about throwing those traditionally like warm-up exercises, and I put in quotations because that's what it's viewed as, like thrown in the middle, I think is brilliant, because like it almost is a form of auto-regulation, and it's like an active recovery kind of deal. But a lot of times those stability type exercises, that's whenever we have injuries, is whenever we're fatigued. So if you train them under fatigue, like we did with the single leg ISO hold on the AirX pad, dude,
right
my
after
ankle,
the erg.
Yeah, well, and I had on Vivos too, and like my foot was just like shaking. I'm like, I got it. I'm just trying to like compete with everybody. I mean, I think that's awesome, throwing it in the middle.
Those pads are interesting because you just can't get balance.
Oh no,
like, it doesn't matter. As soon as you feel settled, it's like shaking.
Oh yeah, for sure. Jesus.
Well, and two, I remember when we were on the sliders watching the group in front of us on the AirX pad, I'm like, this is going to be easy 40 seconds right here. Just take
Right.
it easy. And the first time go through, you're like, okay, that last one, the ankle stability is just shaking like crazy and you're all over the place. So I think that's super important. I mean, and when you look at it from our side, maybe more of a rehab side, training like that, especially as we get older in our 40s, 50s, 60s, can really help decrease fall risk and other injuries and complications as we age.
100%. Yeah. That's like I said, that's the big thing is just as we age, just making sure that we're taking care of our clients. And that's the biggest thing. You had a little.
You going on?
Act like nothing happened.
There it is.
Okay, nothing happened. See, I was muted the whole time, so y'all were just rolling, so we're good. I'm gonna be like news anchor, Channel 5 here, no big deal. Yeah, but I mean, I think that's what, like I said, that's what makes you all different in a very good way. Is that there is that intent. So I dig it.
When did you guys decide, you and Rachel, that you wanted to do something like Foundation Fitness, have your own spot? When did you guys come to that conclusion?
So we actually, I don't know if you all know this or not, but we did not start Foundation. Foundation Academy was the name of this gym. We technically started Foundation Fitness. So Foundation Academy was here. It started 5 years ago, and it had two owners. And then the ownership, after I guess like 2 years, 1.5, 2 years, came to me and Rachel, and we were partnered with one of those partners. And then we bought out that partner 3 years ago.
Okay.
So there was 2 years where we were not full owners of the gym.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm sure there's been some big changes.
Huge changes. So it was completely different. The things that they were doing whenever we came over here, open gym was huge. It was CrossFit without being CrossFit.
Yeah.
It was super competitive. The CrossFit competition scene.
Mhm.
At the time I was part of that. And whenever we took ownership, we knew that those things had to change if we wanted it to be a profitable business. Our friends were some of those people, that were doing the competition stuff. We had to start shrinking open gym time, and then put more emphasis into class. And after we did that, it started to grow a lot once we started putting more emphasis on the class. And then we started to hate what we were doing because we were doing CrossFit without being CrossFit.
Yeah.
And that's whenever we started to build out Build Power Grind. And we actually had all of our CrossFitters, besides maybe 2 or 3 old CrossFitters, left because they wanted CrossFit. And it was okay because we knew we needed to attract a different kind of client for what we were wanting to do. And then they knew that they needed to go somewhere else to get the type of fitness that they wanted as well.
Yeah, well, and I think too, like CrossFit it has its place.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
I agree.
Just like with everything else, like, that we've talked about, is like it doesn't have to be one thing. You know what I mean? Like I think it'd be a little bit of everything. So like one of your classes could look CrossFit-ish. You know what I mean? Just like we do, like we call them EMOMs, like rehab EMOMs, to where like if we have a CrossFit athlete or somebody that does functional fitness, then we can do like we did today, alternating on the minute, on every minute. So it looks like CrossFit, but we can still dial in with that intent like we're talking about. But yeah, that's interesting. So like what was the main reason you kind of drifted away from CrossFit?
I think a lot of it was based around injuries.
Okay.
I was debilitated for a good amount of time from a back injury that was something that it was more volume related, and the way that I drove, the hip shift when you drive, you got the wallet in the pocket, that whole deal, and then just volume, volume, volume. And eventually my body just broke. I had an L5S1 herniated disc. I had severe sciatica down my left leg. My muscle completely atrophied in my legs. I couldn't even do like a calf raise. I was sleeping like 1 or 2 hours a night for 2 weeks straight. I would sleep standing up, leaned onto the laundry machine. I went to the ER multiple times, just begging for help in tears. It was the worst pain I've ever been in. And, going through that process, and then just seeing the product that we were delivering after that, we just didn't feel good with it. We also just kind of slowly started to get away from the way that, what CrossFit was. And so Rachel and I just started going to big cities and going to different gyms and just seeing what all was out there. And we realized that there's a lot of really, really cool things and unique things. And that kind of educated us. And that's, and our work with physical therapists kind of led us into building something out that we feel like is a more sustainable program as you age. It's interesting with the CrossFit thing, though, just to go back to that, because everything's CrossFit.
For real.
And so
For real.
it, like, you could literally, like, somebody could come in and do 5 sets of 5 back squat, and you're like, oh, he's doing CrossFit. And then
Yep.
they could just be doing like pull-ups, and it's like, oh, that's CrossFit. And then if I want to go for a jog in between my sets of push-ups,
CrossFit.
I'm doing CrossFit.
Yeah.
CrossFit's done a great job with branding, but they don't own everything.
Right.
And like, everything's not that. People were doing these things before it had the term CrossFit. CrossFit's just a phenomenal brand. So I just wanted to say that, because
Yeah.
I
No,
think
100%.
I think you could literally go, like, you go to Orange Theory, it's CrossFit. You go to, if you really want to get into it, like, you go to ETSU, like, while they're doing weightlifting, like,
CrossFit.
some people that don't know, they'd be like, oh, look, he's doing that thing where he puts the bar over his head. That's CrossFit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a pet peeve of mine, but
Yeah.
it's phenomenal that they have done so well branding. And also, I think that CrossFit, the brand, is honestly, it's probably one of the best things that's ever happened to the fitness market, because it exploded. You got so much information out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you started to get these new ideas of fitness, like Orange Theory. Orange Theory is, from my understanding, they were like based CrossFit in the beginning, and then they grew their brand. And there's a lot of brands like that. So you got a lot of these boutique style, like us, like we were, I was rooted in CrossFit whenever I first started, the whole fitness thing. And, my disagreements with CrossFit, and then, like, the way that I view fitness now, and then we kind of built that into what it is now. So
yeah,
I think it is one of the best things that's ever happened, but also, like, they literally stole every exercise and every form of working out in the book. Like, I can't even go for a jog down the street without somebody saying, look, he's running down the road, he's doing CrossFit.
Oh, well, and if you have nobles on, good luck.
Right.
Like,
Right.
You're automatically a CrossFitter. Yeah. I mean,
whenever we switched from Build Power Grind, whenever we switched from like CrossFit to Build Power Grind, I remember telling Rachel, like, one thing that's going to be really, really big for me is whenever we teach a class and nobody has on Nanos, Metcons, or Nobles. Exactly. And now people still wear them in here, and that's okay. But there was a class, like, probably like 3 or 4 months in, that people had on like Vans and running shoes. And I remember going home and saying, we did that shit.
That's awesome. Totally responsible for it. I like it, man. Well, and I don't know. I think, CrossFit, like you said, it put barbells in hands of people that maybe wouldn't have before.
Amazing.
And that's a good and a bad thing sometimes. Because, as far as common injuries that we see, I mean, the deadlift is so demonized, and that's from physicians, that's from everything. And there's a rhyme or reason to that. But yeah, I mean, I think CrossFit is great in that sense of, shine a spotlight on the gym to the normal person. But then in the same sense, it's like, man, when you do that intentful programming, and kind of take a step back and be like, okay, why are we doing Fran when we just did Murph, like all these hero workouts?
It's just unregulated.
Yeah. Well, and
the intent behind it is really good.
For sure.
It is.
It is.
But it's just unregulated.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things where, like, we just need to step back and be like, what is our goal? Is it to be good at, or kind of like okay at everything? That's your goal. CrossFit, that's your jam. Right. You know what I mean? But like, if not, then take a step back. Like we said, be intentful. Work on our jumping, work on those foundational movements, and then you can also, like, still do that as on the side. You know what I mean? Or 100%. Like, just occasionally do that. So.
And that's what we saw whenever we did shift. There were we have 2 friends that, they've been in CrossFit since CrossFit, and they're still here today. And one of them is actually on our staff, and we went to their house. We would go to their house every week for dinner, and we were discussing these things with them, and they gave us a lot of good pushback. And it once we started to dive into the program, even they kind of understood, what the intention is, and that's the biggest thing, is just intention. I think that when CrossFit was started, and there's a lot of great CrossFit gyms. Brad Weems at Thunder Valley, he's fantastic. He's a good friend of mine, and I think that he has a good product. I think that it's just unregulated. You just don't know what you're going to get when you go to a different type of gym, and that's honestly the case with fitness in general, and also everything. You go to a coffee shop, it sucks. You go to a coffee shop, and it's the best one you've ever been to. You go to a gym, it sucks. You go to a gym, it's the best one you've ever been to. It's just, you got to find the professional, and it's hard. I think that it's the owner's responsibility to look at the customer, and to look at what you're delivering to the customer, and not to just do the thing that makes you the most happy. And that was huge for us. We don't snatch. It was one of my favorite movements. Well, why would I ask anyone to do that? I don't understand. I don't know why you would do that. I don't know when.
Unless you're
I
an
don't
Olympic weightlifter.
Right, unless you're Olympic weightlifter. Like I literally can't think of like a reason why. I can already think of like 5 reasons why you shouldn't.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You mean you don't get your laundry detergent and like pick it up and snatch it,
Right.
and then put it on the top shelf?
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. No,
So,
I totally agree with that.
yeah.
I was just gonna say something.
No, you're rolling with it, dude. I was just waiting for you to say whatever's coming out next.
But I do think I think that to kind of lead into this, like, I think that what you all are doing is educational, and I think that it's helpful for the fitness market, and I think that gym owners can look at things that you're doing. Fitness programmers can look at what you all are doing, and there's a lot of information packed there. Look at, for me, I'm trying to learn from you all. I'm trying to learn from what is pelvic health. What are they doing? Like, how can I help? And I think that is an important thing to say, and I think it's important thing that you all have. It's a huge responsibility that if you look at it that way, if you take it that serious, then it's a huge responsibility for all of us as fitness professionals to kind of learn from each other, and more specifically people who are writing the workouts for group fitness. Again, how do you make bird dogs fun? You just do it, and you teach it well. And you don't just say like, oh, we're going to do this bird dog, and it's a warm up, and da 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 da. Like, make it fun. Like, show them why they're doing it. Tell them why. Like, go through and cue them. Like, it you don't have to do all these sexy movements in group fitness all the time. And I think that's what, like, people want to do. Like, we don't do kipping pull-ups at all. We do strict. Like, we actually, like, this week we actually had pull-ups that was like a 20-second hold at the top and then 5 seconds down. It's way harder than any set of kipping pull-up you could do, and you're just building so much strength. Doing that.
Grip
stability,
strength.
Just that time under tension.
Yeah, well, and that's gonna be that's what I'm saying, is like everything y'all are doing has multifaceted layers to it.
Yes.
It's not just because, let's see how many butterfly or kipping pull-ups I can do in a minute.
Just to do
it. Yeah, exactly. Because I'm not gonna go out, down the street, and somebody's gonna be like, how many, timer go.
It's like to watch your bench.
Exactly.
Hey, what's your bench, bro?
No, for real. That's what it is. But yeah, I mean, and I guess as far as like your all's programming, have you seen injury rates like kind of go down?
Oh my gosh, man.
Okay.
Yes. Shoulder injuries decreased significantly, and that's not to say that there's zero. It doesn't matter what you do. I mean,
people get hurt.
Yeah. You could literally be going through physical therapy to get out of pain, and then like re-injure yourself. It just
we
happens.
see it. We see it.
It just happens, and you feel terrible. You're like, oh, feel bad for you. But I'm going to help you with that one too. But yeah, like, significantly. And, a lot of that, whenever we were building Build Power Grind, a lot of that was one, Rachel, Abby, and myself had to educate our staff on what each day was the intention, educate them very, very well. And then we have to educate our clients whenever they come in on what the intention is. And, if we are doing like a grind day like today, and somebody, starts going 90%, they're doing bird dogs hella fast, or, they're getting on the erg, and they're just like maxing out, it's our responsibility to walk over to them and slow them down.
Pump the brakes. This is not what the intention is.
It's very, very important.
Well, and I think that's something that we look at, like, in traditional therapy, like you went through in the past. Like, did you hear anything about RPE?
I did not.
And you might have. There's there's nothing wrong with not hearing
Yeah.
that, but like whenever it comes from your background, like kind of talking your language of the client or whoever it is, patient, like I think that's important. So when you're talking about communicating, be like, hey, like let's dial it back a little bit. We're shooting for 70% or
Yes.
7 out of 10 RPE,
Yeah.
whatever. I think that is huge in the sense of getting that auto regulation. Just trying to be like, okay, we're coasting today. We're still getting us training stimulus, but today ain't your max day.
Right.
You know,
And every day and every workout is every day and every workout's auto-regulated. Life is auto-regulated.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
and
It
so
has to be.
It has to be.
Yeah.
So, to ask, and I've been there, and I've been a part of it. To ask someone to give 100% every day, you're failing them. Everything's auto-regulated. So, teaching them what that means. Everything's the way that I feel today, and this is what we say during base week. Okay, you're going to do your dead hang today, and afterwards you're going to do your max farm hold. I know that you did this last year, and if you do better, great. And if you don't, great. We have to look at, like, did you get in a fight, like, with your best friend the day before? Did you get, like, in trouble at work? Were you stuck in traffic and you're the type of person that has road rage? Did you eat crappy? Did you sleep bad? So everything's auto-regulated, and you have to like take those things into consideration every day you come in. A lot of times, to lead into the injury thing for you all, a lot of times whenever we do see injuries in here, have you ever seen the load versus capacity graph that Active Life RX has?
I have in the past. And
Okay.
saw it was so good.
So we explain that here. A lot of times whenever somebody has an injury in here, we can go to them and ask them a couple of questions around their lifestyle, and usually they're really stressed, they got bad sleep, or their nutrition's not on point. And sometimes it's an injury from, it could be a push-up, it could be an air squat. It's not necessarily always like when we're in our, heavy rounds of back squats. It's usually simpler things, and it's usually some kind of lifestyle thing that has happened, and they're like, yeah, like I have been really stressed, like I didn't sleep, like last night I got 3 hours of sleep because my dog kept waking me up. And it's like, like next time, like just don't work out, like it's okay to take
Exactly.
a rest
You
day.
need that rest.
Yes.
Well, and that's something like I'm dealing with right now. I've got an 11-month-old. Homie wakes up every 45 minutes.
It's tough.
And I lift at 5:30 in the morning. Then I program. Then I go to work, all day. Then I don't get home till 7.
And you could feel it.
Oh no, dude. Well, and like I said, I'm 30, and like we were talking before the podcast, like doing the jumps and stuff. My Achilles, like I know whenever I'm like, no, don't put, you know what I mean. But it's important that you all are kind of shining a light on it and be like, hey, I want you to consider these factors. Because we want to basically like have that check engine soon light. Like, hey, like we're not going to go today this hard because all these other things, because like stress is stress to the body, and the body adapts to whatever.
Whether it's working out or getting cussed out.
100%.
Yeah.
No,
Stress is stress.
That's the best way of putting it right there. And it's like, if we're going like balls to the wall, like 100%, and we're no sleep, and we're eating McDonald's because we're running behind at work, and work is crazy, and you're, whatever, like you can just keep going down the line. Like it's just a recipe for an injury. And that's something during our like initial evals, like that's what we shine light on. We're like, how is your diet? How are you sleeping?
That's so good.
And we've like in our True Coach, we've got our like home exercise program. At the end of every week, we've got like a kind of like recovery score. Like, give me the amount of like average hours that you've slept.
That's good.
And if we see that dipping, and then we look at grip strength, so like central nervous system fatigue. If we try to test every day that we can.
That's awesome.
And if we start seeing that dipping, then there's been some research backing like, hey, they're fatigued somehow. You need to take a step back. Or if we do like counter movement jumps and we do the force plates and we see that number start dipping, it's like, we know the program's solid. So something outside of this room
Yes.
is affecting your performance right now. So we need to address that and be like, kind of peel back the layers of, talk to your people. That's the thing.
Yes.
And I think in the traditional going to the therapy side and the gym side is it's hard to get on a personal level because everything is so numbers driven.
Yes.
For gyms, it's get people in the door.
Mhm.
PT clinics are no different. It's the same thing, especially if they're ran by like a big corporation.
Oh yeah, the volume's
It's
crazy.
freaking numbers.
Yeah,
That's like healthcare in general.
Yeah.
I have a friend that's a PA, and I mean they'll see like 30 people in a day. I'm
And
like,
talk to them for
what?
5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
Well, in like PT, I was doing travel therapy like whenever COVID first started, and it was before I had my little dude at the house. So like we were traveling, so I would ask him, be like, "What's your all's average expected like caseload for the day?" I was gonna go to Vegas for one of my rotations, and it was for one like it's kind of like one of the big PT clinics that are like nationwide. And I asked him, I was like, "So are y'all like a meal?" And he was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Well, how many people do you see an hour?" And he was like, it just depends. I'm like, dude, I need a number before I come to Vegas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I like the money of travel, but like, I'm not driving myself into the ground.
Yeah.
He was like, we're anywhere from like 30, 32 a day. And I said, I appreciate your time.
Right. I'm not gonna do
mean?
that.
Yeah. I mean, no amount of money and like,
Well, you just can't provide
no,
good care.
well, and that's the quality over quantity type thing, and that's what we do is like one-on-one for an hour, period. And you're in our office, and then we're gonna be able to adjust, and you also have 24-hour access to us. So like we do our app, you upload videos when you're not with us. So yeah, I mean I think it's building that accountability too, and just knowledge around why are you even doing this? You know what I mean?
Being able to provide that, having the time to provide that education to patients as to what we're doing. And going back to the fatigue thing, I know you do it and I do it as well, but each time we see a person come in, say, however number of weeks, we always reassess each visit. Like, how's work today? How'd you sleep and stuff? And if they got a lot of crap going on, then it's like, all right, we're going to dial it back. And you have to explain to them, hey, you don't have to be, pouring sweat and just walk out of here half dead to be like, oh, I got a lot of work done.
100%.
Maybe we going back 50% today and just working on the fundamentals, doing a lot of mobility work, breathing techniques. That's going to benefit you a lot more, and it's going to propel you to just keep progressing in the future.
100%. Progress is progress. Progress
100%.
is what progress is not. Progress is not sweating, and progress is not being sore. Progress is progress.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Well, and I think social media, like being what it is, kind of like glorifies the grind of the
yeah.
like let's just push as hard as we can. And if you're laying on the floor at the end of the workout and somebody like videos you, let's upload to Instagram. I'm working so hard.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like at the end of the day, like you said, progress is progress. And I think knowing, and especially like us doing social media now, like when we look at like what gets the most likes, what we were talking about earlier, sometimes it can be those workouts, and that's okay. Like it's okay to have those. We're not saying that. But knowing all the other factors that go into it, there's like a green light, a yellow light, and a red light.
100%.
And if you come on one of those red lights, and say you come in here and like you go and talk to your people before class, I seen you like kind of doing your rounds, hey, what's up, how's it going? And if you notice something, maybe they're just not as talkative as what they were before. And I know you do that because
Easy.
yeah, because
you can pick up on that.
yeah, and you're gonna see that as a coach, and you're gonna be like, red flag, there may be a red light right here. So whenever they get to that, you're gonna be like, hey, here's a regression, do this today. It's cool.
Yes.
Even if it is a test week or whatever.
The biggest thing as in group fitness is being present, and I think that it's easy to not be present. I think that it's easy to read the workout off of the TV and then set a clock, and you have to be present. We have systems for our trainers of allowing them to accomplish the way that they walk the floor, the lines that we set people up in, the lines that they view the movement through, the amount of times that you talk to someone. You just have to be present. And if you can set up, if in group fitness, if you can set up some of those systems, it can help a lot. But, again, it's easy to walk around and say, I watched everybody, but did you? Like, because sometimes whenever somebody gets hurt, the trainer doesn't even see that happened. And then the person, could leave and not really even say anything to you and then send you a text later. That we're not going to let that happen on our watch. So it's whenever you get ready to do bird dogs, our thing is go through and watch every single person do a rep or two on the bird dogs, then move to the next movement and watch every single person do a rep on the hamstring slides, and then go and do the same thing for every movement. And even if you're like saying their name in your head to make sure, like, like Josh, Zach, and I'm watching you do the movement, just being present that's where like the good stuff is from like a trainer perspective. It's just easy to get redundant and just kind of let it happen.
Well, and I think it's also easy to be the cheerleader and the hype man or the DJ.
And it can be fun.
No, 100%. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right. But there's more to it than that.
For sure.
There's a lot more. That's a piece. It's a small piece. It's a small piece. Doing get like education is probably educating your client is one of the best retention tools. Giving them knowledge, hell, educate them enough to where they don't even need to come to your gym. That's where retention is.
100%. You provide that value.
And then if they leave, they're going to give you a referral. They're going to say, these are the smartest people. Like I'm going to work out at home because I'm going to save some money, but I can do that because they taught me all of this. That's where it is. Education is huge.
Well, and that's kind of what we like have built our business model off of. Is we have obviously rehab and then strength, like programming. So with our rehab side, we got 6, 10, and 15 visit packages. Well, if our plan of care doesn't need 15, then we're gonna be like, you might need just the 4. It's freaking adaptable. That's the thing. So like if you get in there and like kind of what we're talking about, like you're like, hey man, we just need 4. Like you're feeling good. Are you cool with kind of calling it a day? Like, wait, you don't want me to keep coming back in 2 times a week, every single day? Like kind of like what
the old chiropractor trick.
100%. Yeah, which it's a great model.
As like you need to come in 5 days a week for the next 6 months
because you're out of alignment.
I'm like, what? That happened to me whenever I was like 23. I'm like, what? I'm 23. I need to come in how many days a week? Well, you could just come 2. I don't even think I need that. Well, how about 2 times a month?
It's a negotiation.
I don't even think I need that.
Yeah, but that's what it. That's what it
obviously
can be.
Drop sales and
Yeah. Well, and then a lot of people like just kind of take it for what it is. Like if they've got a degree, I need to come in that often.
Right.
And I think that you're talking about the responsibility of the professional. That's something like as physical therapists that we, in being strength coaches too, that we try to be like, hey, this is not the only way of doing this. This is the best way we feel is for you right now. And, like I said, it's adaptable. It's not a negotiation like you're talking about, but it's like, we're going to be straight up with you. Like if you don't need all 15, you don't need all 15.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And it's, how do you walk the line, for us as business owners of being profitable and then not being salesy.
Yes.
So we're not salesy here. We essentially slide them the pricing and say, these are our rates. We educate them on what we do, and then we show them our pricing, and that's it. If they have questions around it, then how many days do you think I should come? We answer those questions. But what we're not going to do is if they say, do you care if I just, a lot of times we just say, just take a picture of it and then, text me later.
Yeah, get back to us.
Yeah. Yep. But if they say, is it okay if I just text you? Yeah, do that. Take a picture of it. Here's my number. And then if you have any questions, just text me. And, we're not going to hound them. We're not going to send them text messages, every day, 3 times a day. We might check in with them, but we're not high pressure sales. I've been at places that do that, and it's just not really what we do. The people that want to work with you will work with you, and the people that value you will pay it. And if you end up like trying to convince someone that just to come just so that you can get money, like you're gonna have a lot of headaches because they're already mad they got to pay you. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, and as far as I'm kind of going back to the payment model, so like you went through traditional therapy. So like, how would you say it would have differed if you would have went cash based at the time? Because I'm sure cash probably just wasn't super prevalent whenever you went.
I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think I didn't realize how much they were billing my insurance.
Oh yeah,
no, it's insane.
I saw the bill, and I was like, for what? Like, this is crazy. I think it was, I could be wrong. I feel like it was like $400 or something like that, like $400 or $500 like per session. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like $440, I feel like, is the figure that I saw. And I and it had that's whenever I started to like try to understand what PT was. I saw that it had units marked on there. I started asking some of my friends that are physical therapists and PAs what the units were, and they were telling me. So then I started going into my PT sessions kind of with intention of learning, you know, what is this unit? Okay, this bike is a unit. This Graston method is a unit. This manual manip that she's doing on my back is a unit. And like I said, you know, the person that I worked with was phenomenal.
Oh, for sure.
She actually had a barbell in benchmark.
That's awesome.
And she had me, because she knew what I wanted to get back to, and she progressed me on deadlifts and things. She taught me how to read.
Shout her out real quick.
Yeah. Jen Hammett.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Jen Hammett. She's awesome. She's cash based as well. The difference with Jen and what you all do though is, and you all probably do some of this. She does, and I'm sorry, Jen, if I get this wrong. So she does mainly like 90% of her care is manual therapy and dry needling. I know y'all do dry needling as well. She does that. She doesn't have the space where she's at, and I don't think she wants to dive into that. She doesn't do exercise.
Gotcha.
So a lot of times she refers people over to us or to other gyms as well. And so that's kind of the difference there. I know that y'all do dry needling and y'all do some manual, not a ton of it, but y'all do like y'all are.
Mostly Zach is the manual guy that got the magic hands over there. Look at everything.
I'll do some dry needling. Manual is one of those things. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it has its place. There's nothing wrong with it. But you know, my goal is, you know, hey, we'll do this manual work. We'll try to progress this as quick as possible, and then let's get you out on the floor and try to do some more dynamic stuff. But
yeah, well, and I think like I'm a type of therapist. If I didn't touch anybody rest of my career, I'm solid.
You're good. Good to go.
There's nothing again. It has its place. There are great manual therapists.
Different things
out there,
for different people.
100%. And there's different types of therapy. So you know, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But going back to the units thing. So all those are timed too.
15-minute unit.
Yeah. So like you have to be type A to be a therapist.
Yeah.
But in going in PT school, that's how everybody was. I mean, there was like very few, and those that weren't kind of just didn't really last. But you've got like you know always a running clock. Well, then you've got a running clock for 4 different people.
It's
every
crazy.
hour.
It's crazy.
And it's just like, you know, that care just can't be there.
And I think that was like her gripe with it too. I think that's why she went cash based. It was, you know, I think a lot of people that do that. I mean, you see even like I guess like functional medicine isn't covered by insurance. Is that?
No, it's not. Like performance medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
so
exactly.
even that,
they're all cash too.
Yeah. So it's just you know, it's a crazy system. And I think that, you know, it's tough for you all and for other health professionals to get into something that you're so passionate about and you really, really, really want to help people. And then you go to college, you're so happy, and then you get a job and you're so happy. And then reality hits that you're not actually getting to do or spend the time or actually care the way that you thought you were because of the system. And that's where, you know, people start doing this functional medicine and they start doing cash-based, you know, physical therapy and all those things. I mean, even from my understanding, like pelvic floor stuff isn't like covered to the extent necessary for most patients.
Yeah, well, and again, I'm not a pelvic floor therapist, but we do have some homies that are, and it's kind of one of those things where like when we had them on the podcast, the Girls in Passion, and that's kind of what we talked about is like they were so limited and they have like a very intimate conversation, obviously with pelvic floor, and they just didn't have time to dig through those layers. So it's
like, here, we'll give you 4 sessions, and it's like I might need to see this person for 6 months. How are you even like? How are you on the other side going to tell me that this person only needs 4? Like, you don't even understand the beginning of what.
Well, and they have no medical background.
Mm-hmm.
They just, I mean, they're just cashing checks.
Yeah,
You know
absolutely.
what I mean? And that's something that, like, you know, especially being in the nursing home, going back to that type of experiences, you know, we'll get like Medicare will be like, oh, you're done. And it's like, okay, I guess we have to go discharge
That's
Sally
crazy.
or Bob. It's like, you know, that's the part that we just kind of, you know, I guess what was it last year that we were just like, no, we're done with this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or year before. So
They cut me off too.
yeah, well, and that's the thing is once you're discharged, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
So that's where our model is like so awesome is that like we funnel people in our program literally after people graduate. It's called
Mhm.
graduation. So they go straight into graduation, which is like 100% online or monthly check-ins. But it's strength programming
It
Mhm.
or
is.
power, whatever their goal is
Just to
for
keep them
runners.
progressing.
Yeah, but well, and it's like it's not just like getting them to the finish line or what insurance deems as the finish line.
Or
It's
to their
functional.
prior level.
I freaking if
Yeah.
I hear power level of function, that's what got you hurt, and it's
But
trash.
how do you So how do you get back to like, okay, I had an injury and you're going to get me back to baseline. So I guess what I don't understand is if we just say something very simple. So we'll say I could, at the point of injury, I could deadlift 100 pounds, and it took me 10 years to get to this 100-pound deadlift. After my PT, is the insurance saying like once he can deadlift 5 pounds, like he's released? Like, what do you mean?
They're
like,
not even looking at deadlift.
Yeah.
I mean, but that,
Right.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
just say
yeah,
in
yeah.
general, like the insurance. So I'm just speaking in general. Like the insurance is saying like, well, once you can, once you have the function to do X movement, like you're released. It's like once you can do these bird dogs without pain, like you're released. Once you can do this without pain, you're released, or whatever those are. But
Yep.
you're not like you're getting me to baseline function of just like moving, I guess, throughout the day, but not really, because the time that it takes for someone to relearn how to engage their core is a long time, and then to learn how to now how to engage your core while you're still breathing and talking without holding your breath. Now you have to implement this to every exercise, whenever somebody has like a back injury. So it's just interesting that like what is baseline for them, because my baseline used to be 100-pound deadlift, if that was the baseline that I had. And so you're going to tell me that I'm cut off PT now because I can do a 5-pound one? And that's not, they don't look at deadlift,
Right.
but like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
like
for sure.
it's crazy.
I don't feel like they even look at anything. I feel like, depending on your
Based on
injuries,
numbers.
Right. So,
Yeah,
what is that?
literally, I think you walk in, they're like, "Hey, here's 12 visits. You better hope you can get done whatever you can get done. Get back to your
They
level."
say like, what's the patient's injury? You tell them the injury, and they say, well,
This is the average.
this is the average.
visits.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
You'll come in like you're talking about your low back injury. There's a ICD code for that. Whatever the average is across the nation, it's like, hey, if the average person starts to feel not 100% but feels better in 6 visits, we'll give you 6 visits. I mean, it's insane. It's you're just numbers. It's not tailored to each individual.
Well, and then like I said, even if you get to that 100-pound deadlift, like you were talking about prior, like what are you going to do next?
Right.
You just get dropped.
Right. Because I got injured at this,
Yes.
at my capacity, and it wasn't even the deadlift. Maybe that was just the number that I remember at the time.
Yes.
But like, what are we doing now? Like, I need to get back to close to, and then I need to know what's next, because I don't want it to happen again.
Exactly. Well, and that's what we tell
How many
everybody.
people go back to the PT second, third, fourth, fifth time? I wonder.
Well, and that's the whole thing. Like that's part of the
Or
big
how many
business
people
model.
can't go back?
Yeah. Well, and that's part of the business model too. With the insurance side, is like, hey, chances are, and we even had like, and this sounds awful, in rotations, we had conversations like, we'll see them back.
Yeah.
Because
they
either
didn't get the care.
Yeah.
Like you weren't with them long enough.
Exactly. Or like you weren't able to deliver that buy-in to that person. And with cash, like, hey, money talks. If you got money down on the table, like I want to feel better, this is my goals, and we are able to pull that out of you of, hey, this is why you need to do this. This was your prior level of function, and then here's what we're going to get you to. Here's your goals, but I want to know what your like 5-year goals are.
Right.
And like, I have a 65-year-old guy that he's been with me for a while now, and he does dancing, like competitive dancing.
That's cool.
Well, now I mentioned to him the other day, like, and he's like now deadlifting, trap bar deadlifting. And again, he's not a power lifter.
I saw him on the gram.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like 300. I
Yeah.
mean, dude, he's a monster.
That's awesome.
And he didn't, when he come to me, he didn't want to lift weights, and I didn't force it. because it's not his goals. It's
Right.
not, you don't have to do that. There's many ways to progress. But once we started kind of developing that power with lighter weights, he kind of was like, and maybe I can kind of like push myself. And I'm like, yes, you
You
can.
like the way it felt
Yeah.
to be
And
strong.
yeah. And then that's what I told him after. I'm like, I mentioned to him about 3 weeks ago. I was like, buddy, have you thought about like doing like, marathons, triathlons? And he started laughing. I was like, oh, I'm being serious. Like,
Yeah.
you can push yourself. And he's like, I'm too old for that. And I said, dude, if I hear that again,
Well,
don't ever say that in
Right.
here again.
it's like the lady that we put up yesterday on Instagram. She worked with her previous personal trainer. They didn't lift anything over 10 pounds. And I said, you got injuries? What's going on? She said, no. My personal trainer just told me that women should not lift over 10 pounds.
Wow.
It's not safe. It's not, whatever. And I asked her, I said, well, let's just go through some things. Okay. At home, do you carry in groceries? Do you have to pick up heavy things of laundry detergent, a heavy load of laundry? She's like, well, yeah. I was like,
A kid.
yeah, I'm like, I can about guarantee you that's
Everything
probably
she
over
does
10
over
pounds. And yesterday we did trap bar deadlifts, 85 pounds, and she looked at me just amazement, like, oh my God,
Stoked.
I can do this. I'm like, yeah, and you didn't break,
Isn't
so
that crazy?
yeah, it's insane that and I feel like a lot of patients we have, and it no fault of their own, I feel like with the health and fitness injury, there's just so much misinformation out there, and people will believe anything, whether they see it on Instagram, Facebook, or just information from maybe somebody that is not as knowledgeable on a certain topic as maybe other people are, and you have to just debunk all those narratives all the time.
It's so unregulated.
Yes.
Just,
Oh, for
and
sure.
and that just goes back to what I was saying about like group fitness or personal training. It's so unregulated. I could go tonight and get another personal training certification and have the cert and email you it
Oh, yeah,
tonight
on the internet.
on the internet.
100%. And some of those are not terrible.
Right.
But the point is that you can do it.
Yeah. So anyone can, it's just so unregulated, at least in PT, there's a baseline education that they have to have. At least they have to be able to recall information at the very least.
Oh, yeah. And you have to get that piece of paper at the
Right.
end.
You got to get the piece of paper. So, at least that's there. But yeah, even in there's doctors that are crazy. There's doctors that are great. There's personal trainers that are crazy. There's there's scientists that are great. And it's just, a lot of things are unregulated, but the fitness industry is one of the worst for it.
Well, and kind of coming back around to the, your all's business. That's what, talking about building capacity and just empowering people and like building those foundational movements. That's what I love about y'all's program. And like all the programming is that, like we said, there's intent, and then you educate, build, educate, build, and it's just a constant thing. And that's how you're going to get retention as a business owner, is providing that value.
Yeah, 100%. And that's how you also get referrals.
Yeah.
And that's how you grow, just doing it with intent to actually help people.
Exactly.
Well, that, and I noticed this. I mean, obviously we've already touched on your intent and making sure people are doing things correctly and effectively, but I think just talking to people, knowing that they are a member of the community, this gym, and not just a number, that keeps them coming back. So, man, that feels really good. I feel like, he's really watching my form, really cares about me doing this. It's just only going to benefit you moving forward and bring in more business and more people looking to join this place. So
100%.
Yeah.
Can we do something? So I want to do this on here, and if y'all want to, you can cut it out. So for people that don't know, you've been here 2 years ago, and you all had some discussions with me, and it ended up coming to me saying I just didn't think that we were a good fit.
For sure.
And a lot of the reason on that was that we were at the time, that's whenever we were mad with our product and we were going heavy into this build power grind thing, and we were really, really trying to be a strong brand, and we knew we could be as strong as our brand is today. I remember having a discussion with Rachel about the idea that you all had, and I remember seeing your Instagram stuff, and I was like, our branding is strong and their branding is really strong, and I felt like I would have stunted your growth because I'm so particular with like different things. And I felt like there were definitely, and it's proven true, that there were definitely better places for you all. And I felt like I was going to do you a disservice by telling you like, hey, yeah, like you can come in this corner over here, but like you can't do this, this, and this, and like I don't want you doing this. Like you're not allowed to say that. Like you can't wear your T-shirt in here. You can't do like I would have probably you would have been like this guy's crazy. But I knew that your idea was good. And I remember having the discussion with Rachel that wherever you all go, you're going to be successful. And I may have even said that to you all, but I knew that you had a good idea, and I knew that the branding. I mean, y'all's merch and stuff is good. What you do on Instagram is excellent, and I think it's funny. I think it's a cool story, and I think that 5 or 10 years from now, I think it'll be another story that we look back on, because it can. I know that whenever you start something, and how exciting it is, and to get a rejection. I hate delivering the rejection, and I know that it doesn't feel good to receive it. But I knew that y'all had something special, and just just how hardworking you all are. I mean, you have another job as well as your business, and then just the the grit and the consistency of just continuing to reach out and continuing to stay connected. And obviously there were no like hard feelings because you all reached out again.
100%.
But I think that that's like a funny thing. And I think that, like I said, like 5-10 years from now, whenever you all own your own brick and mortar, it's going to be a cool story to tell. Yeah.
100%. Well, and I mean, dude, it's all part of the journey, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we're stoked to be here and talking to you. I mean, man, I love it.
Very cool.
Good deal.
I appreciate y'all having me on.
No,
Yeah,
dude,
man.
and we'll
Thank
do it
you.
again.
We will. This
Yeah.
was really good.
Yeah, I dig it. I dig it. Well, good deal, guys. All right. Where can we find you?
So Foundation Fitness KPT on Instagram. It's probably the best place to find us. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We're in
Good
Kingsport.
Sick. Good deal. All right, guys. Later.